What's up, everybody, and welcome to the iReach podcast. I'm your host, Paul Robinson, founder and CEO of ConstructReach, a national consultancy and initiative that aims to diversify the construction, design, and innovation industries and empower a younger generation. We are here merging education, industry, and culture with a variety of featured guests that you do not want to miss. So let's go. iReach. What's up, everybody? We are back for another episode of the iReach podcast, man. And we've got another amazing guest. I've got Mr. Matthias Williams with us today. Matthias, how's it going, man? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Paul. I am so happy to be here. I really look forward to our conversation and learning more about you too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So listen, let's get right into it because these 20 to 30 minutes, they go by so fast per episode, man. And so we're just gonna jump right into it. So we're talking about this industry of construction, design, technology, manufacturing. I think they can all be summed up in these sectors that really need more visibility in terms of more accessibility for a younger demographic. Of course, we know that this demographic is the most diverse that it has ever been within the state of our country. And so, you know, being able to attract the younger demographic and diverse demographic, man, is very important. But representation matters as well. Seeing ourselves represented in places now gets a chance to put us in a position to see ourselves pursuing those same professions and career pathways. And so I wanted to preface that because I want to ask you this question, and this is how we kind of lean into a lot of these conversations here. How did you get into the industry, and talk us through that journey as to how this came to be the industry for you?
Well, it's pretty simple. When I was a kid, when I was 7 years old, I was helping my dad do construction work. Back then, he had a small little handyman type construction business called Pioneer Services. And he would go do service calls, would clean houses, do minor remodels. Then he moved up to a little bit major remodels where I would help him from the time I was 7, 8, 9, 10. We'd get up in the morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, go to work till all day long, 7, 8 o'clock at night, then come back home. And I would be working with them all through my summers. And during school time, we'd get up sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning to go help them till we had to go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. So when I was like 10 years old, my dream was to be an architect. I thought, man, I'm going to be an architect. So when I was in the ninth grade, I took drafting in preparation of becoming an architect. I got in this special technical school at Blair Middle School in Los Angeles, in Pasadena, California. And Blair High School, rather, in Pasadena, California. And I ended up going to the University of Houston and studying architecture because I was going to be an architect. And then one day in my fourth year, we were doing a site visit at a architectural firm. And we're talking to the people, asking them questions. And I asked, how much do architects make? And the guy says, they make $75,000. And I was like, oh, that's no money. And at that point, I decided I didn't really want to be an architect, but I always wanted to build houses. So later, I bought my first house when I was 19. And then by the time I was 22, I had like 25 units, 25 doors. And so when I was 24, I moved to Georgia to work for Atlanta Gaslight. And I lived like the corporate life of being an operations manager for Atlanta Gaslight. And I hated it. I hated the office. I hated having to wear certain clothes. I hated not having my freedom. And more importantly, I hated not being able to use all of my skill sets that I had. And so I got married when I was 27 and decided, hey, I'm going to open my own business. I came down to Florida, got my license in 2005, 18 years ago. And haven't looked back since. And now I build houses just like I dreamed of doing when I was younger.
Yeah, now that's an amazing career, man. And you know, in there you've got some very important components that I just want to unpack just a little bit.
Yeah,
man. So you said your father, right? You started with your father at the age of 7. What I was taken aback by was how early you used to get up. So 3 o'clock
Yeah,
in the
we got
morning.
up early.
Oh my gosh, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then going to school the same day.
Yeah, that's what we'd have to do. We'd go up, we'd wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. At that time, we had to go clean houses. We were cleaning we're doing the final cleans on final construction builds, and we would do the cleaning of the models. So we'd have to clean the models Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and all the models had to be cleaned really early in the morning. So we would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. My job when I was 7 and 8 years old was vacuuming. That's what I would do. And I'd have to vacuum a huge 3,000 to 5,000 square foot house in less than 30 minutes because we had 30 minutes per house. So we would get in there. My mom and dad would grab everything, get out, be very organized. You do this, you do this, you do this, and you do this. And by 7 a.m., we would just about be done, and they would drop us off at school.
It's interesting because it's like as a child, I don't know, like what were conversations like between you and your parents when you all reflected back on that time when you got older? Was it like them reminding you how much you didn't like to get up early, or like, you know what, I just didn't have a problem with it. That's what we had to do, so I did it. How did you respond to your parents telling you had to get up that early?
Later in life, I realized they were just slave drivers. Okay, we never got paid. We never got a single dime. There was one time we were in Mississippi. We lived in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old. My dad was doing a 2-story barn out in the middle of like June, in the middle of summer, Mississippi. Very, very hot. He had 3 guys working for him. They all quit the second day because he never brought water. We never took breaks. We didn't do any. He never took us out for lunch. And we would have to get on site at 5:30 in the morning before the sun came up. But by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun would be way up top.
Yeah.
I would be on the second floor trying to put up 10 when I'm 10 years old. And I was the only one that stuck with him for 45 days straight doing that project. And you know what? Never paid me a single penny. He got me a pair of tennis shoes that cost about $90 though. And as I reflect back on it, and I remember my dad was like 42 years old at that time, or 40 years old. I remember what life was like for him in Mississippi and how difficult life was for him, and how he used us to go and do work and try to bring money in for the whole household. So our help to him was essential in every way. I wish he would have paid us, but he didn't have like the business wherewithal or business acumen at that time to make that happen. But I appreciate all of his sacrifices that he made and how he was so deliberate about teaching us how to do it. His slave driving actually helped us think that life later was much easier. Like when we went to go work for someone else, we thought it was always a breeze because no one is as worse as bad as my dad.
Say, start work at 7 o'clock. Really? That's it?
Exactly. Exactly. We should almost be finished by now.
Yeah.
Well,
That's good, man. No, thanks for sharing that. That was one thing that as you were telling your story, I'm like, did I just hear him right? Did he say 3 o'clock in the morning, 5? I mean, I'm in my REM sleep during that time. I know my kids are. No.
I would never, my kids are 6 and 8 now. I could not imagine taking them to work like that.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what it takes to do that. And I'm sure at that time I was I always got up and I always went because I like to spend time with my dad. And he and my mom spent most of the time working, as most parents who had to struggle back then did. So the time when we could spend with him was time working, either working or preaching.
No, I get it. I get that. You also mentioned that you bought your first home at, was it 19? And then you had about 20 plus doors. So got into investing, got into real estate in your early 20s as well?
Yes. When I was 19, I bought my first house.
Yeah. What brought that on? What sparked that interest?
Well, I'm a very lucky guy. I've always been extremely lucky. And I actually bought my home from a homeless lady that I let stay at my home. I was living in an efficiency in a really run down place in Houston. I saw a lady come to the manager's desk and knock on the door at like 9 o'clock at night looking for him. And I said, he wasn't there. What do you need? She says, I'm just wanting to ask him if I could have a place to stay. And I said, no one's here, but if you want, you can sleep on my floor. Another thing, I've always been a little too trusting sometimes. So I let her sleep on my floor. I didn't even ask her name. And in the morning, she left. That happened like 4 to 5 times over the next 2 months. One day, 3 months later, I'm playing basketball at 2 o'clock in the morning because I can't sleep. And she walks up and I said, hey, what are you doing here? She says, oh, I'm coming to talk to my lawyer because I want to sell my house. And I said, sell your house? I thought you were homeless. She says, no, I got a house. It's in New Orleans. And I said, well, tell me about it. She says, well, it's a 4,000 square foot, 2-story duplex. It's got walk-up wood floors. I said, how much do you want? She says, I want $10,000 because I just want to get rid of it. And then I told her, $10,000. I said, okay. This was a Friday. I said, I will buy it from you on Monday. Give me the address and what is your name? And she told me her name was Deanna Dubana. And I said, okay, great. I wrote it down. She gave me the address. The very next morning, I drove to New Orleans for the first time to look up this address. When I got there, I saw a house completely run down, but it looked exactly like she said. Come Monday, I made an offer. Come Wednesday, I bought the house. Come Thursday, I was in New Orleans living.
Wow, that is a very unique story. Yeah.
So that's how I bought my first house for $10,000. It was such a lucky moment.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of lucky moments in life.
Mm. Oh, that is so after you bought that, what was it about that first acquisition of a property that you were like, okay, I need to replicate this?
Well, back then, I didn't know anything. So I just started working on my place. At first, I got the downstairs complete and I moved in. And I got the upstairs complete and I rented it out, Section 8, to a family. While I was doing that, 2 houses down, this old white guy had this place, 8 units, and said he wanted to sell it. And I said, I'll buy it. And he sold it to me for, I think it was $35,000. And all I had to put, and I got a hard lender from Texas to loan me the $35,000 at 18% interest to purchase it. A month later, I had another 8 units. And then I rented my unit and then moved into the smallest unit in that building because I'm just a single old 19-year-old kid. Very lucky. Yeah. Very lucky. And then the next one was another 5-unit place that a realtor told me that he had a guy who was trying to sell his house. So I would sell his building because he had to move to New York. And I said, I'd buy it. And when we went to go buy it, I could get it just by giving him $1,500 and taking over the mortgage. I gave him $1,500, took over the mortgage, and we went to closing. It was like the middle of the month. And then after we closed, I said, hey, you owe me the money for the rest of the month mortgage, which was like $1,200 back.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. You're quite the savvy businessman, man, at a very early age.
Well. Yeah. So that's how I got my next 5.
Yeah, that is good, man. And I'm glad you're speaking about this because I didn't even know this is the direction that it was going to take. But when you were sharing your story and how early you started, I mean, that was before you were 20 years old. And when you think about being 19 and where you are just in life during that time, as you're transitioning into young adulthood and you're trying to find your footing and you're trying to at least discover, hey, what am I going to do, right? School is over. My parents have gotten me to this point. What's next for me? What I like to see is not only success, but also thinking about the ownership side of things as well and being able to expound on it. Because I don't think we think about it enough in our community. Right. And so, yes, we talk about different career pathways that you can take within construction in this industry. But I think it's very unique that, you got wind of what an architect makes and said, oh, not just sign me up, but no, that's not for me. Right. Yeah. I want to go another route and where we would be like, yes, sign me up. You're kind of like, that ain't enough.
Yeah, it just wasn't enough. It's not enough for the life you want to live.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that should be inspirational, and this is why we do this podcast, and this is why we have individuals on, man, such as yourself, because that's something that I'm hoping is inspiring some young listener right now, to think about, hey, there's different pathways that I could take to success, and I don't necessarily have to put myself in a box just to go a particular route, right? There's a lot of things that I can lean into to put myself in a position to live the life that I envision for myself, and ownership allows you to do that. And real estate is one of those vehicles in which you can begin to build that passive income, build wealth, be in a position of ownership or what have you, and maybe it affords you the opportunity to do other things as well, because now you have your time, you have the freedom to pursue other things that maybe somebody else can't necessarily do. And so I thank you for sharing that. So now, kind of where you are, you've owned a company though also for about 18 years. Is that correct?
A little bit more, yes.
Yep, a little bit more than 18 years. Can you talk to us a little bit about that company and kind of what you guys do within that company, and like how you grew that business?
Well, I started 2005, March 17th, I got my license. March 18th, March 17th, when I got the mail at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and got my license in the mail, I immediately went out and put out flyers to people's houses in a neighborhood that had bad fences. Because I said, I didn't know what I was going to do exactly, but I needed cash immediately. And I knew I could do it by doing fences. So I went out, put my flyers out, and I got a call that same night. And the very next morning, I went to go do, my ex-wife and I now went to do the fence. We're digging the fence, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm digging the hole. I hit the main water line that feeds the entire apartment complex. I'd only charged $840 for the entire fence rebuild, and it cost me $1,200 to get the water line fixed. I finished the fence in 2 days. The neighbors saw the fence, liked it. I ended up doing like 40 fences in that neighborhood. Fast forward, I ended up doing $1 million in business the very first year, in the very first 9 months in business. And I never looked back from there.
Say that one more time.
I did $1 million in business my first 9 months, and I never looked back from there.
Yeah, yeah, man, that is great. That is inspirational, and I like the fact that you mentioned that you hit a water line, and how it actually sets you back financially because it costs you more than what that first project was. But the quality in which you went about doing your work and the efficiency, other people saw that, and I think that's definitely something that is worth unpacking a bit as a lesson. I think, especially when we think about setbacks that we have. Sometimes we overlook a lot of the good work or the good things that we have in place, and we allow what we think to be these setback moments to somehow cast this huge cloud over our ability to be successful now. And it doesn't necessarily have to be doing a project and then something goes wrong, but it could be just as simple as, hey, well, society says that, because of where I grew up, or the education that I have, then I can't be anything. Or because I don't see anybody pursuing what I have an interest in, then I can't do it as well. I think it's identifying, hey, what do I have working for me? And even though I may see some things or experience some things that are less than ideal that I didn't necessarily envision for myself, it doesn't have to be the summation of who I am, right? There's still an upside to my life, and just trying to take those experiences from individuals such as yourself, man, like where I'm working, something happens, it puts me back, but it didn't necessarily stop, right? The idea that I had, it was a good business model. It was something that I knew that was in high demand. All I had to do was perform that the right way and the clients would come. And so, yes, I had a setback, but the business model was there to support the setback, right? So that it wasn't necessarily one. So no, that's good, man. Thanks for sharing that. So what's been, you've had quite the career. What's been your proudest moment, but then what's also been your most challenging as well?
I think my proudest moments come from how many of my employees that were from before have companies, are thriving, and they still work with me. They don't work for me. Now they work with me. And I think I'm most proud of how many of them have started. Many people started as a cleaner with me. Then they went to laborer. Then they may have gone to driver. Then they go to carpenter. Then they go to project manager. Then they have their own business. I have the guy who first started for me as a driver. He is now managing a Bath and Body Works full remodel. And he started with me as a driver when he's just a young kid. So I think the things I'm most proud of are the advancements that all my employees have made and people that I've mentored. I mentor people in EO that are EOA members. So they have like business from 250,000 to $1 million, and I help them grow their business to $1 million or more. All of them now have businesses that are $1 million to $3 million businesses. And those are the things I'm most proud of. Like when I look at that and I see how many people's families are being met from things I've taught them, and how far they've come from the point I met them. Because I meet so many people who come to me and they say, oh, I need a job. I just need a little help. And then I give them help. And when they start applying themselves, they start to flourish. And I love to see that.
Yeah, I mean, being able to see the trajectory of someone's, not just career, but life, when they start out with you at such a young age, and then they've been able to build families and support their families, and grow professionally as well. Yeah, that's a proud moment, man. That is definitely.
It changes their life forever.
Yeah.
It changes their life. It changes their children's lives. It changes their wives' lives. It makes them happier, makes them joyful. It helps the community. It helps the globe where we live in. And I think it's very important that we see people advance and become their best selves.
Yeah. Well said, man. Wow. No, that's good. I almost wanted to end on that because I got the other question. The other side of it is, what's been the most challenging aspect?
I don't know. I think life has many challenges.
Yeah.
Okay. There's financial challenges. There's people challenges. There's execution challenges. There's law challenges. There's social challenges. And I think they're all like many opportunities. So every challenge that I've ever had, I've always grown from it. You never have a challenge that you don't learn from.
Yeah.
Every challenge, some challenges have given me a doctorate degree in when someone tries to sue me, or when I didn't read a certain little point in a contract 15 years ago, so I lost $40,000. Those are challenges, and that's just the cost of education.
Yeah.
And challenges are just what education costs when you're out there hustling and trying to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said, man. Well said. Oh my gosh. I know we're running out of time here, man. I can stay on longer, but I want to ask you one more thing in terms of maybe two, the state of the industry here. So being in it for such a long time, what are some changes that you would like to see take place within the construction industry?
I think the biggest changes that are needed are some of the policies that large construction companies and large corporations use to hold down small businesses, how they have obscure payment terms, how they use contract law to try to not make payments or to do go-arounds on people. I think that is the most challenging thing for people to learn. And the old system of doing things, the old payment systems and legacy systems that are really oppressive to small businesses really shouldn't exist today. There should never be now. The time from finishing to payment should be nearly instantaneous. There's no reason why it should be 30, 60, 90, 120 days. There's no reason why when you're building a store or helping a school being remodeled that you need to wait 2 years to get your retainage. There's no reason for that anymore. Yet people are using it to hold down small businesses and take advantage of them. And a lot of small companies, they can't survive that. And I think that creates such a financial burden on small businesses. And it's one of those things that now I'm fighting against. And I'm warring. I feel like it's a war against the legacy financial systems that exist that oppress small businesses and minorities from growing.
That's it's definitely worth the fight, right? Because that definitely needs to change. What would be your message to any young people that are listening to this or watching this at the moment? We know that the industry is in need of more diversity. We know that we're only seeing, I think we're still under 6% in Black representation within this industry. That should grow as well. But what would be your message to any young person watching this episode as to why they should pursue a career within construction?
I think they should if they love it. I think people should pursue things they love. Almost everybody can find something within construction that they love. If you're creative, if you're hands-on, if you're more of a thinker, if you're a computer programmer, there's so many different facets of construction now that anyone can get into it if you find something that you love. Find something that you love. Just learn as much as you can. And then be bold and be fearless. That's what I would tell them. Learn, be bold, be fearless.
Yeah. Learn, be bold, be fearless. Well, Matthias, it's been a pleasure, man. Thank you for joining us today. Much success to you, brother. Well, you're already there, but even more, right? So, yeah, hopefully somebody got a chance to listen to, what you were able to say, just how early you started, the drive, the determination that you have, the creativity, the business acumen, all of those things, and the passion, right? Loving what you do and being able to influence and shape the lives of other people along the way. And so thank you, brother. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning into our show. Remember, like, share, subscribe to the podcast, and join the movement as we reach to build a better future that we can all be proud of.